goddamn. When people told me The Descent 2 was really bad and a lot of people don't even consider that movie as part of the universe, I thought to myself, it can't be that bad. The Descent was an awesome movie. So when I found out they made a sequel, I'm like, what more could they add to this? It's perfect the way it ended. It wasn't perfect, but the ending was perfect. I rated a review of this movie, so go check it out. The sequel just feels like it's trying to play dress up as the other movie. First of all, the makeup doesn't look the same, and the people who are playing, maybe they're the same ones, but for some reason the monsters just don't look as believable as they did in the first one. Or I don't know, maybe the movie's lost its luster. Quick recap from the first movie: 6 girls go into a cave, they meet up with some cavemen that apparently evolved to become gremlins, and only one of them comes out. But then in the original ending, how the movie was intended to have ending and was later changed to suit the American audience because they were too soft and can't deal with sometimes things being dark and realistic, showed that the main character, one of the 6 girls, Sarah, didn't actually make it out of the caves. She had been hallucinating, and it turns out near the end she was back in the cave and the monsters were closing in. She had also put a pickaxe in one of her friend's knee, the one that was surviving, called Juno. She did this because Juno had been sleeping with her husband, who is now dead, along with her daughter. And had Juno not done that shit, I know it probably isn't Juno's fault that happened, but the man wouldn't have been distracted and wouldn't have gotten to the car accident. I know, Sarah probably blames her for a lot of things, namely being her best friend and having an affair with her husband. I can understand in that moment that she's crazed and amped up on her primal instincts that she would decide, you know what? Sucks to be you. You shouldn't have crossed me, bitch. Off with your head or your knee. We hear Juno screaming, and back then, you didn't have to see a body to know that the body was dead. Just like Scar being eaten by the hyenas in The Lion King, it is heavily implied that the person is dead. Like, there's no way they can make it out of that. But Sarah didn't make it out either. Well, in this movie, they decide to do away with all of that. The old man is driving along in his vehicle when some stupid deer that has a death wish decides to stand up in the middle of the road right when he's coming. He stops the car and waits for the deer to cross, and right there and then, I guess they were trying to jump scare people, but it failed. Guess who comes up to his vehicle? Was that supposed to be scary? Because she just looks like an idiot. I cannot believe the woman who was the best actor in the first movie is now the worst actor in the second movie. It really speaks volumes for direction. There are just some other things about this movie that just, I can't believe the same people are playing the same roles. Sarah, the main character, also does one of those numbers that looks more comical than poignant or whatever it was they were going for. Oh boy, wow, how far we've fallen. It's funny because the release dates or the years that the movies were released seem to coincide based on their quality with the quality of American society. The first movie was great, supreme quality, and everybody understands that this is a classic movie that really captured what the director wanted or the storyteller wanted. The Descent 2 just seemed to shamelessly abandon everything that made the first movie great. There's just so much that doesn't make sense about the second movie that it just makes me tired thinking about it. We have this officer that looks like the human incarnation of cornbread, whose brains is apparently made of sweet potatoes. He and his partner take a visit to the hospital where the first guy that almost ran into the deer dropped off the main character from the first movie that's supposed to be dead, by the way. But I guess they're going with the American version that just makes, you know, that in and of itself tells you everything. And apparently, Sarah has amnesia. She just blocked out everything that happened. How convenient. So she won't remember what's in the cave and to bring weapons. Also, if she was the only one that made it out, as much as I want to identify with her, as a police officer, I'd be a little bit suspicious how 6 girls went in and you're the only one who came out and you were covered in blood that didn't belong to you. More stupidity. Certain guys, honestly, I didn't really care about this movie, so I don't even know who the hell they are, but they send their search dog in the dark. It doesn't occur to you to shine the light in there. You send your dog into a place and you don't know what's in there. What if something with rabies is in there? What if somebody wants to stab your dog? Why are you not using a flashlight to shine so you can see where your dog is going? Did they do that just to give the audience some semblance of suspense so the dog could jump scare us? Anyway, since the dog picked up a scent, well, they know they've been looking in the wrong place from the beginning. They decide to take Sarah with them, even though she has amnesia. Maybe something will jog her memory. I get that the police officer, who's the female police officer, is trying to be kind, but she just comes off looking like a jackass. Because for what we know, this girl comes out and she's the only person who has any idea where her friends are, who could probably still be alive. And this police officer's like, no, she must get rest. Bitch, you don't know if she's innocent or not. I understand that there's this whole innocent until proven guilty thing, but this is not one of those situations. Her friends could be dead or dying, and the only person who made it out alive out of a cave expedition that other people don't know monsters were a part of or had anything to do with is Sarah. Yes, take her with you. Apparently there was another mine that was connected to that area as well, and they're like, it's a whole new cave system, but like nobody else knew about it. Whatever, we can forgive that. Although the old guys in this movie, I don't know what's going on with them. They all look creepy, or they're supposed to be implied that they're creepy with this Joe Biden looking ass. As they're descending or make their descent, I guess they were trying to be more on the nose with this movie and show them actually descending on a freaking elevator. Sarah starts to get nervous. She's still been through a really rough ordeal and wasn't really ready to leave the hospital, but they're depending on her to find the other people. So when the sheriff says this, all I want to do is take a clump of dust, shove it in my little tight fox ass, and blow it out in his face so we can choke on all the particles, because this makes no sense.
Yeah, drink this.
She's okay. Let me worry about her.
But you're not worried about her, are you, pumpkin patch? Let the bitch get a drink of water. She's just been through it. Okay, you don't know for sure what she's done. Right now, I can understand that she's a suspect. However, you can give her a little bit of water. I don't know what injuries she has. I'm sure she must have bruises and stuff. But if she drops down because of dehydration, which I'm sure she's already dehydrated, you're not gonna find the other people anyway. It's not like this girl was like, you know what, let me leave the freaking country because I obviously did something wrong. She went to go get help. She may not remember why, but that's not the point. Even prisoners need water and food. Thankfully, the cave guy comes up to him and tells him what's what. Like, as long as we're down here, he's the one who's the leader of the expedition, so he makes the rules. For some reason, as they're trekking through the cave or the mine or whatever, things don't look as believable as they did in the first movie. I don't know if it's the lighting or what, but it just has this airy feel. Like before, there was just more of an element of danger. When I watched this, I didn't feel that at all. The only thing I wanted is for them to find out already that these things exist. Sarah gets a little scared and her memory is jogged very slightly, and it will come back in increments as she starts to remember what she really had to deal with down here. Unless of course she's acting this whole thing out and she really remembers, but she can't say, hey guys, yeah, all my friends are dead because these cavemen people that look like parts of the rock came out and ate all of them, and I'm the only one who made it out alive. Sarah's memory is almost fully back. She remembers the monsters, but she doesn't remember what transpired with her friends, or so we're supposed to think. But she smartly and understandably doesn't tell anyone until they come upon the corpse. It looks like it's been mauled and eaten of one of her friends. I don't know which friend this is. Oh yeah, but she's dead. Then the cop comes right out and he's like, you know what? You came out with your friend's blood. You come down here with 6 people and you're the only one that comes out. What really happened down here? Then everyone starts defending her. And I understand again why they defend her, but again, you don't know what really happened. Although it is very hard pressed to believe that she did something like that. Being an officer, you would see the wounds and realize that for her to have done that, she had to have teeth, or like that this doesn't seem like something a human being would do. However, that does not explain why her friend's blood was all over her and she has pieces of flesh inside of her fingernails and stuff. I mean, we know that's the monsters, but to everybody on the outside, it looks very sus. About 27 minutes in, she finally says, hey guys, I think there's something down here that we should probably go back up. 2 minutes later, when they try to crawl deeper into the cave to find the others, Sarah starts to have her memory come back in droves. She remembers the creatures, she remembers fighting them, and then instead of telling everyone, hey, I remember what happened. We were attacked by some weird looking ass men down here and they attacked my friends. She assaults everyone, further suggesting to them that she's probably the one that killed her friends. Like, what was the purpose of that? Why did you have to assault them? Why could you just not have told them first, and then if they tried to restrain you, then you fight your way out? It just seems like a very odd thing to do. I mean, I get she's scared and whatnot, but she's still thinking rationally. It's not like she's paranoid and frenetic. She's thinking thinking rationally enough to stay quiet and do certain things. Like, you can tell, she's been doing this a long time. Everybody in the sequel is made to be like they were living in these caves for 17 years, when that wasn't the case. And everyone gets separated when the sheriff takes off with his creepy-ass smile like he's hunting for some puss, and one of the monsters kind of spooks him, and his gun goes off, and for some reason, the gun going off causes there to be a rock slide in the cave. One of the girls gets trapped, and as a result, everyone has to try and find a way around to get her free, and on their way, they find the camera, Holly's camera, that everyone was using to record all the events. They sit there, and we see the events unfold as these monsters attack them. So now everyone believes Sarah that she didn't do it. There you go. I don't think that was the right way to go with this, because it makes things less scary, because now they know what to expect. So it kind of fails in comparison to the first one, where they had no idea what they were dealing with. As they're watching, Sarah is hiding only feet away from them, and instead of saying, hey guys, now you believe me, or you don't believe me, I couldn't tell you because it would have sounded crazy, but you see that, right? We caught that on video. And help them and tell them they have to stay quiet and that the things are blind. She just sits there. She regains her memories, she knows everything that's going on, but she doesn't say anything to anyone. Then as they're watching, one of the cave things come in and they're like, oh, surprise, surprise, and just, for some reason, Sarah decides to save the deputy woman, who starts calling for help, and the deputy soon realizes that the creatures hunt by sound. And the entire rest of the movie is just Sarah helping out the deputy, just because, you know, she's supposed to look like a badass. Meanwhile, the girl that's stuck inside the rocks, under the rocks, she had no way out. She was completely trapped, and then she discovers that one of these creatures is out there. She didn't know what was going on. Now she knows this thing is coming after her, has no idea what it is, and conveniently she finds an area that she can fit through that I guess she didn't think of before. Maybe she was waiting to see, like, if her friends could free her, because there's still a risk that the rocks can slide in and smush her, but that risk is still there if you stay there longer and they're unstable. So I don't know. Whatever. I'm not a spelunking expert, so I can't tell you if it's logical or not what she just did waiting in there. But nevertheless, she gets an opportunity and is motivated to get out of there. The girl who was caught inside the rocks finds her boyfriend. I'm not really sure. She seems to really love the other guy named Dan, but this guy flirts with her and she flirts with him, so maybe they're in a polyamorous relationship. Who the frick knows? She runs into him and the creature runs into them and they decide to hide. And guess what happens? This is so fucking annoying. Like, I don't know, like, why movies do this over and over again. And what makes it more cringe is that they did it in the first movie and they're like, you know, let's just recreate everything from the first movie, but a little bit more different. Or actually, no, exactly the same.
Can you hear me?
Dan's dead.
Can you hear me? Come on, can you pick this up?
So why is it the sheriff decided to phone into them now? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? And why is it right at that moment? Like, that already happened in the first movie. What are the chances that that would happen again with a second group of people that came down here? Jesus Christ, man. There were a few times in my life when I was playing hide and seek and I had my cell phone on me. You know the first thing that I did, because I'm not an idiot? I lowered my phone. I lowered the volume. Turn off your walkie-talkie. You think the monster's gonna catch them, but oh no. They took it off at the last minute and the monster's distracted and touching it with its mouth, just like it did in the first movie. Those two idiots end up dying anyway. They end up seeing the girl from the first movie that's still hanging there, and then they... freaking hell, man. I don't know why. As the movie progressed, I just started getting more pissed off. And then guess what, guys? This is gonna take the cake. Remember how Juno died in the first movie? Because there's no way she would have made it out of that with 20 of those things coming down on her. Oh, turns out she's freaking Tomb Raider, dude. She survived. Oh yeah. And no scratches on her face, no nothing. Makeup still, you know, 80% intact. Like heat and sweat and swelter and blood and pools of slime. What kind of makeup is that? Like, I'm just confused, but she's still alive. Oh yeah. And she saves the sheriff, and she looks like a cartoon character doing it. It's like these freaking people that are playing these characters are freaking Wendigos, man. These can't be the same people who just did the first movie. And of course, Juno already knew the way out, but she didn't get out because her light died. And, you know, she couldn't find her way out. Okay, sure. Meanwhile, Sarah and the deputy chick tried to figure out how to get out of there. And the deputy chick is all weak and sad and depending on Sarah to get her out and apologize for making fun of her. And then she's going to become a badass near the end of the movie. And then they fall into a literal shithole that these things shit in. And they have this designated area where they shit and vomit and poo and piss. But they have no qualms about jumping down in there after people who are intruding in their home. I get it. And then something just pisses me off. And I notice why these monsters don't look scary. Not only is the makeup looking more fake than it did in the first movie, but the monsters seem to have more obvious pupils, like they're supposed to be blind. But in this scene right here, looks like it's looking right at her. Like, one thing I could appreciate for the first movie, the creatures moved like they couldn't see. And this one apparently is like, I know exactly where you are, and I'm gonna track my eyes with my head to keep them trained on you, which doesn't make sense because they are blind. Even if you didn't remember what you did in the first movie only a few years back, you can just go look at how blind people's eyes react regardless if someone's in front of them or not. But this thing, whoever's playing this monster, is looking dead at the deputy. The fuck? Like, it just took me out. And I was like, why can't I pinpoint why are these monsters not more scary? Not only did they not set up this movie to be more scary, because this movie wasn't necessary, but the monsters can now see, because clearly it looks like it's looking right at her. Okay, whatever. Also, another reason this isn't scary, why is there so much freaking light in this cave? Isn't this place supposed to be freaking dark, my guy? Where is all this light coming from? Is this shithole shining or giving off special golden hues or angelic rays? Where's the light coming from? Feels like it's coming from everywhere. Are they in an underground microwave? Did they not remember the person who did this? Didn't he work on the previous movie or see the previous movie? Wouldn't you know that the place is supposed to be dark? Everything's so freaking lit. What made the first one scary is that you could hardly see the monsters or see what was going on. You're made to believe that these people are down here in the dark. Instead, everyone's out here and can see the monster. The monsters are no longer scary. We want them to see the monsters. Well, great job. Now we know how horrible the makeup of the monsters are, and they're no longer scary to us because we can see them.
Now I wish I was back in the water.
Was that necessary? Is this a comedy? Was that supposed to be comedy relief? And why would you say that right as the thing is walking away? Did we forget that these things hunt by sound and when they hear you, they come after you? Is that not an element in this movie? Is this not The Descent 2? Or are these not the same monsters? Then Juno saves the guy, the sheriff, stupid creepy dude, and I'm sure that he's having the highlight of his life as she has to be right up on him to keep him quiet. Sure, why not?
What are these things?
In case you didn't hear, she said death. And why does she look like she just came out from a Rambo movie? It's been 2 days and you've been through a lot. That can make a person grow up real fast. But I just feel like they're playing up the whole, I'm a super badass and I have 16 lives. Like, bitch, how are you still alive? How do you not have a scratch on you? How is not pieces of your clothing torn or your hair torn out when there were 20 of those things upon you and your leg was freaking cut in, your knee was cut? You shouldn't be walking. Last time I checked, even though this is a sci-fi thriller, it's supposed to be based in some kind of realism. And again, throughout the movie, especially when Sarah is with this other girl, you can see so much light. I get that there's phosphorus and stuff. Where is that? It's just everywhere they go now? Even when she meets up with Juno and they're both fighting each other, because, you know, Juno left her for dead, you could just, the place is so nicely lit. It's almost like they're reenacting what happened in the first movie, but this isn't really happening. And then the sheriff, oh my god, he's so gross. Like, I don't usually say that about people, but I look at him and the actions of this character, and he handcuffs this girl when you know you need both hands to defend yourself against these things and to climb, and everyone's just like, oh, we're totally okay with this, and you handcuff her to you, and while she's struggling, you're like, Like, ew, get your fucking hands off you nasty, nasty, condescending, flat, bulbous, pus-filled, putrid, hot mouse ass. I can't stand him. And of course, I saw this happening, because of course, if you have a really huge person like that and something happens to him, it's gonna happen to her. Then all of a sudden, Sarah's like, help me, Juno. Like, she wasn't a badass 5 seconds ago. Ow! Why do they show movies with people's nails being pulled like that? Jesus. That's so fake to me. It's so nasty. My teeth feel like, ugh. Sorry. It's just, in situations where you're falling or slipping off of some place because humans are primates, they don't have claws like cats, the instinctive thing to do is to use your fingertips to get a better grip because humans are primates. You don't have cat claws, you don't have Wolverine claws. Digging your fingernails into something is not going to make you fall any less. It's not going to help pull you up. It's just going to detach your fingernails. So human beings won't do that. So why do they show that in movies? Fuck, oh God, it just gets on my nerves. And they do it just to make people skeeve. And there's no reason to skeeve because it's not realistic. It's not something that people would do. The only time I could see that happening is if your nails are super long and you're trying to grab down something to grab to let your fingertips do the work, but your nails are too long so they're in the way and then they get pulled off. But if you have short nails like her, there's no reason for that to happen. It makes no sense.
Hey, cut it. What? Cut what?
Cut it or the full die. Just fucking cut it!
Why wasn't the deputy's first thought to cut the chain on the handcuffs? Aren't they thin? Like, if you do enough force, I'm pretty sure you could break those handcuffs. But your first thing is to cut his wrists or his arm. You're not even cutting it at his wrists. You're cutting it the worst possible. And in reality, this wouldn't happen because human bones are very hard to cut. So I think it's harder to cut through his arm and more time consuming than to just cut through the handcuff chain that looks very thin, by the way. Not very smart, is she? Don't think she would have survived very long had it not been for Sarah and Juno here. But of course, they did this for dramatic effect because you gotta show gore for reasons, you know. Then they make it to the entrance real easy, and then this Arnold Schwarzenegger version of the cave crawler things comes in and moves real slow like the Hulk, and then he brings in this big thing, and apparently he's the alpha, makes out a big scream, and then one guy's dying, and he grabs the girls. Then the monsters know where they are, and then Juno and them, they all fight, and nobody gets like a scratch. Well, some people get scratches, but for the most part, these women who are domesticated human beings are able to easily fell all of these cave things that have been climbing and fighting each other and pulling down elk for their entire life. That's, you know, the first one I could kind of understand the adrenaline situation because they used wits, but no, just straight face. Let's just go take on all of these things, like several of them. These freaking Street Fighter looking dudes that can climb mountains and hang upside down and hold on to rocks vertically with just their fingertips, you know, and shit. And we could just kill them. It's so easy. It's believable when Juno bites the neck out of the other one, but really? Really? And then that's not even it. Near the end, Sarah, she sacrifices herself. She had survived this long, but she screams so the other girl can go because that girl still has a daughter. And she has to go home to her, and then the deputy makes it out. We don't care about the deputy, by the way, because there's no reason to care about her. She was just some random person that... Oh, and then she runs through the woods trying to get a signal, and then the Joe Biden dude is like, I'm gonna slam you in the head because even though I saved Sarah, because you're brown skin, I guess you don't deserve to live. I don't know. There's no logical reason why he did that, because I'm trying to figure it out. What is the one thing? I was shocked. And it's funny, because I had that thought. I'm like, maybe he just doesn't like brown skin people, and I'm not the only one who said that. Somebody else said the same thing. So I'm like, okay, it's not just me then. Because aside from that being the case, there was no other reason why he would save Sarah, but then knock this girl out and put her back by the cave. What? Then why didn't you do that with Sarah? And that's it. Then they do one of those freaking Sharknado endings. This movie was cookie cracker ass. Like, it was horrible. I didn't even think it was gonna be this horrible until I watched the whole thing. I thought people were overreacting. I'm like, maybe they just didn't like the way it ended because somebody dies, but the acting was horrible. The acting was so good in the first one, and then the same characters come in here, and it's like, you could tell their heart wasn't in it, or something, or the director didn't know what he was doing, and didn't have them go over their lines several times so they got the right inflection. I feel tired. This was one of those sequels that was just freaking horrible. Really horrible. Damn. I've forgotten how much stupid can be in one movie. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This has been Altiori. You ask, we answer.